Julie, this is for the facilitators, how to get started with a map. I want to talk to you a bit about how to get started with a map for you as a facilitator. How do you help others get started with their maps? What I think we might begin with is just telling them to actually pick out one of the booklets, one of the 8 visual maps that are in the portfolio, and let's open it up and walk through what are the different sections of a typical visual map. Actually, all the visual maps have been laid out in the same way. So let's begin by walking through. The first piece of it is called the introduction. The map I have in front of me is My Life Now. The introduction in this case is really just 1 page long. It's got a few short paragraphs about why would I begin to engage with this idea of looking at my life now. What I might do as a facilitator is just go around the room and everybody take a paragraph and make sure that everybody has really read this together and really knows before they go off to work on their homework how what the introduction is all about and how to begin my life now. The introduction always has some scripture related to the map that is important to notice with your group members, as well as just some key quotes. All of the maps have been designed to have lots of room around the edges and the margins so that you can write or draw or make notes. Please take advantage of that and encourage your group members to do that. The next section of the map is really the instructions page. This is the My Life Now instructions page. It begins with a purpose in just a short paragraph. What is the purpose of this map and how do I begin? Then there's usually some short instructions related specifically to this map that you want to make sure the group members understand before they go off and begin their homework. And then with each of the maps, the questions on the map have been sequentially numbered, and they give some additional questions that could go with them, as well as some examples. This is an excellent tool as you're beginning to sit down and do a map. Oftentimes when I'm beginning a map, I will open up my instructions, the booklet, and lay it in front of me, and then I will actually lay out the colored visual map in front of me, and I'll grab a bunch of markers and pens and pencils and Post-its and begin working on a map. Encourage your group members to do that as they look at this instructions page and begin a map. Then the last section, and a really key section of each of the map, is called the reflections page. There's actually 2 pages. It's got begins with a great prayer for each of the maps, and then always has an Encountering God section where there's usually some scripture or maybe a Lectio Divina experience related to the map that they are working on. Then there's always some additional questions for them to journal and ponder on. I like to use this piece either at the beginning, before I begin a map, as a way to just kind of engage together with God and have Him bring to mind what might be important for me to experience with this map. Or I might do the reflections page after I have finished a map and kind of come back through and how do I take this work to a deeper level. The reflections page also always has additional resources. We've picked 4 or 5 really good books related to the map that you're working on. There's always one that it's a good starting place kind of book. And then the final piece on the reflections page is the QR code. And the QR code, if you scan it with a smartphone, will take you back to the One Life Maps website and the page related to that map. So that's everything that's in the map. That's how you might walk it through with the group members. And then the last thing to tell them is, they can always purchase these just individually. They might have a friend or a neighbor or someone in their church that they might want to just do My Life Now. So point out to them that the map that they're working on is one of 8, and they can get those individually as well as the whole portfolio. So that's the different segments that are in the map. Let's talk about how do you get started and how do you help others get started with each of the maps. One of my first recommendations to people is simply to read through the map from beginning to end. Set aside some time to just do that and sit with the content that's in there. Now, while that's a very sequential process, as you begin working on a map, it might not feel so sequential, and it might be a bit hard for some people to get started. As I said earlier, open up that instructions page in your map. Lay that out in front of you, and then begin by gathering some supplies, some markers, some crayons, some pencils and pens and Post-its. Let your creative side of yourself out and about. And then pull out your visual map and begin work. And like I said, this one you don't have to necessarily do sequentially. Go to the questions that you're drawn to and begin there. Let me show you some examples of people's maps that have already been filled in. The first one I'm going to show you is My Life Story. Actually, it's got a bunch of Post-its on it. Many people, it is hard to put pen to paper or marker to paper to begin. And so oftentimes, particularly with this map, before people even leave to go home to work on their homework for the next time, I'll say, grab some Post-its and add in 2 or 3. It's just enough to get people started. But encourage them not to stick with the Post-its too long. Encourage them to begin to actually write and draw on the maps. I know they're beautiful, but sometimes it is hard to get going. But the point is, our lives are messy. It's okay to be messy on our maps. And really, these maps are just for us. No one else needs to read or look at them. It's okay to doodle, to draw, to use icons. Some photographs I've seen people actually pull in and put on their maps, or use the internet for other pictures. Here's another example of someone with My Life Now. They got very creative with color and words, and I could just kind of see the process of the person sitting down with this map and beginning with one question and letting it bleed into the next and coming back into it with another sitting. And then the final map I want to show you, here's another My Life Story map. And you can see they've used a lot of icons. I have no idea what many of these mean, but they have deep meaning to that person. So encourage your group members to get started. Don't wait too long. To get creative and set aside some time to begin on one of the maps. Now they know what's in there. They know how they can begin it. It's okay to get messy. Our lives are messy. That's okay. The final thought for you too with the maps is to tell them to come back to that reflections page once they've finished the map, perhaps even after that they have had someone listen to them. They might want to come back to that reflections page to let the work that's settled in their heart to take it to a deeper level. I'm excited for you to get started.